That Don't Sound Right is a podcast about talking the way we did before the internet, when you could not prove anyone right or wrong.
All the expertise was contained in the people involved with the conversation. I'm Peter.
I'm Cecil, and I hope you enjoy our conversations. And as you listen, if you find yourself silently saying, "That don't sound right," send us a comment. You're one of us.
Welcome back to another episode of That Don't Sound Right, a podcast about talking. We're your co-hosts. I'm Peter Billman.
And I'm Cecil Davis.
And we're trying to have a conversation without Googling or fact-checking. Those things can just so easily kill the conversation and stunt creativity. Just a reminder that we have opened the Creative Center for That Don't Sound Right. And we are going to use some of the ideas we've got out of that brainstorming session tonight. We hope you'll find this one interesting, and you might even find yourself saying, "That don't sound right" to one or both of us, because this one might surprise you.
Yeah, so I was listening to NPR today, which is not surprising. I listen to it often as I'm traveling back and forth. But I was listening particularly to Marketplace, I think it was Marketplace, and they were talking about the economic impact of content creation.
Okay.
So, as odd as it seems, you and I are content creators. We create content for the internet entertainment sphere of things. And so, this thing, content creation, has become a real thing. So, in its infancy, there was people on YouTube that were, singing songs or playing music or whatever, and it was kind of dismissed. But now, it's really become a real thing, creating content, to where people make money from it.
Right.
And so this article was talking about that the United States right now doesn't have a way to measure the economic impact of content creation. So I know this sounds serious. It seems like a serious topic, but it's interesting to me because
I guess what don't sound right about that?
There's several things that don't sound right that we'll kind of delve into. So the first thing was that there's no, the U.S. tracks numbers on heavy industry. Like, they know how many trucks you sell. They know how many trucks are being made. They know how much it generates for the economy from jobs and from the economic impact. I mean, they know this from music festivals. They know what the economic impact of a music festival in Wilkesboro is every year, as far as hotel rooms and restaurant expenses and parking. But they aren't able to track that for content creation, for a lot of reasons, because it's a very probably grassroots type of activity. It's not reported anywhere necessarily. And you would have to get your information off of platforms like what we use. So the interesting thing, this is the thing that didn't sound right. So right now there's kids that create content for the internet for unboxing a toy. And so they will do an unboxing of a toy, and other kids will watch them do the unboxing of the toy, and they will get money for that. But in the same way, the same thing used to happen in the film industry, where you'd have child actors, but they built in protections for those child actors. So some of the money was set aside in a trust fund, so they would have it for later.
Instead of paying them.
Right. But these kids, who are these child influencers, don't have any of those legal protections that early child actors had.
Okay.
So that's one thing that doesn't sound right.
All right.
But the same thing for adults. Like if you're an adult content creator,
like us,
yeah, you may not, if you're doing it full time, there may not be any legal protections for you, like a 401k plan or a medical plan or any type of safety net in this if you make this profession. This isn't our profession. You're an engineer, I'm a pharmacist. This is a side.
But let's assume this is our profession now.
Right.
All right.
Yes.
Where are we getting our money from?
So if we were, we have tens of people listening to us, but
Let's say we
tens of
had
thousands of people
tens of
listening to us.
thousands, or hundreds of. Actually, the real popular, successful podcasts and YouTube channels have hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands. So they obviously have sponsors.
And what are those sponsors doing?
And so they're advertising on their platforms.
Right.
Or they're, heavy product placement. Mm-hmm. The unboxings are all about product placement where and they, not just kids do unboxings, adults will do, like I saw an unboxing for the soundboard we use, the Manocaster.
All right.
I watched the unboxing of that, and they take it out and they show you all the pieces and they show you how to use it. And I watched it, and probably the person who did it had some revenue coming to them from the platform.
Sure.
Yeah. And so, but there's no numbers like on who's making money, who's not making money.
Well, so let's back up a little. So when it comes to production, they get their information by asking. They just take surveys.
Yes.
Right. Unless it's like a vehicle that's registered. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, they're surveying these companies. They're asking the Treasury departments in each area. Mm-hmm. And they're asking their people, or not it's the central bank. What is that called? The
central bank.
The central bank. They're surveying the heavy industries around them. They're getting the surveys. Okay.
Yeah.
We could create an LLC or a small business, where the money is coming in and it's being tracked. The IRS would track that.
Yes. But it would have to be coded in such a way that they would know it was content creation.
They would have to know what kind of company we are, right?
Right.
And what are we producing?
Yeah.
And so you're saying it don't sound right that the government doesn't know this. They're not tracking this right now.
Well, I was just saying that it doesn't. Well, yeah, I'm saying that it doesn't sound right that there's something. What they estimate to be in the billions of dollars in content creation.
But see, that's the thing. I don't think the billions of dollars isn't the content.
Well, the advertising that's associated with the product placement. I'm saying there's an industry that's generating billions of dollars,
right?
And they don't have a handle on who's doing it, how much is it happening, who's winning, who's losing. They don't have a handle on it like they do for other industries.
And I say that's good. I say they need to keep their nose out of everyone's business. They don't need to know what we're doing. If I have an LLC, if we have a company, let's say we get a company and we have a staff now, all right. Well, it's probably our responsibility to set up some health care, to set up a 401k for our for listener number one and our international brand ambassador. We need to pay our Instagram person well. We need to pay our graphic artists well. We got to pay our barista well. Right. We got to take care of them.
Yep.
So that is there for them. We would create that for them. Mm-hmm. Does the government need to know how we're getting our money?
I think for financial reporting for like GDP, yeah. I mean, that's how we figure, the kind of economic ins and outs of the country. But
I don't think we're producing anything.
You and me?
Yeah. I don't think advertising is worthy of GDP numbers.
Well, it's interesting that you should say that because some people don't think content creation is worthy of any of this attention.
Well, that's fine. But, really, when it comes to GDP,
right,
is advertising something that should be included in the GDP because it's not production?
Yeah, I don't know.
Now maybe
that's not in there.
Maybe they're trying to measure the value of our production.
Right. So for us, when we every minute of content that we create, we lose money.
And in your calculus, we suck from the GDP.
We take out, and somebody's going to write us and say, "You guys are way off because none of this is figured into the GDP." But
that is highly likely.
Every episode we create, we lose money, and we lose personal money.
Right.
We're not bringing money in at this point.
That's right. In fact, if we did, the thing is, if we did nothing, we would lose the same amount of money.
We would lose it. Yeah.
Right. Because we still
it would
pay
just
the
pay somewhere
bills
else. Yeah.
for the podcast or the platform that's not being used, the websites that's not being updated.
Yeah.
We'd still be paying out that money, but we'd be producing nothing.
Yeah.
And we would not be as happy as we are now.
Right. So we pay money. This is like golf. I mean, some people go and pay money to play golf. You and I pay money to have a podcast.
That's right.
But it doesn't generate any revenue for either one of us. The revenue it did generate, we put back into the raw
That's
and
right.
had a booth. And we had to add some of our money to that.
That's right.
We experimented with ads and we made $3.
Was that the final tally? $3?
It wasn't even enough to make the threshold for the cut to get a check cut.
Oh, they won't even send us the money yet.
So that's what this article. The other thing this thing was talking about is that you have some content creators that have and they recognized a guy that I've heard of but I haven't watched, Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
Like he has a lot of followings. I'm not sure what he does, and so he's generating revenue for himself or for his company or whatever. But there are some people that are creating content that nobody ever sees, that nobody follows.
Right.
And in some cases, that might happen to us.
That's right. In fact, it might be happening now.
It might be happening
Half
now.
our listeners might be subscribing to us, but not listening to us. Right?
It's
That could be
100% public. We might only have 10 people that actively listen
That's
to us. Although the numbers show different. And that's, again, for us, this is kind of the point, is that we look at our platform numbers and we have 150 listens an episode.
Right.
We're not really sure how many of those listens are true listens.
That's right.
It could be all 150.
And when you think about the hundreds of thousands of listens at other podcasts, what percentage of those are true listens?
Or true listens, right. And then if you're an advertiser, how do you determine, okay, I want to give my advertising dollars to this podcast.
Right.
And how many true listeners do they have? What's the region that they're reaching? How much influence do they have?
Right. What demographic?
Yeah. So like some of these, like you have some of the younger influencers who are doing makeup, they could probably move a lot of product if they feature a certain product on their podcast or their YouTube stage. I mean, we don't do visual stuff. We do all talking.
Right.
And we've done plenty of free promotion.
Sure.
As we're talking, but we haven't. Yeah. So I just thought it was an interesting thing that they had today on content creation. But we are content creators.
Do you think we should be, as content creators, should we be reporting to somebody what we're doing?
Well, we kind of involuntarily do when you think about it. Because our platform gathers data on us, so it knows how many minutes we're podcasting per month.
Okay.
It knows who we're using as advertisers. It knows.
Not all the time, right? Only goes through the platform.
That knows where our listeners are coming from. It breaks it down geographically for us. I mean, they know a scary amount about us just from the platform we use.
Right.
But they don't have any idea how much money we're making or losing from the podcast.
Right. They don't know what it costs to do the other things.
Right. We could get a benevolent benefactor one time that gives us $1 million and they would never know.
Right. And no one would know.
No one would know. We would never tell anyone.
We wouldn't say a word.
We would just be driving around in project cars that were fully restored.
How'd that happen? Oh.
Yeah. If you ever see us,
we got 200 listeners now. What are you talking about?
If you ever see us suddenly driving around in fully restored project cars, you will know. Call the IRS. Something has happened. Do you consider yourself like a content creator at this point?
I guess, yeah. What's the definition of a content creator, Cecil?
I think it's anybody who creates, either a podcast or a YouTube, something that's visual or spoken music that's being consumed through a social media platform.
How's that different from me writing a book?
That's content too, but I don't think they necessarily consider that. The definition of a content creator, I think, to me, is much more specific to social platforms.
Okay.
Yeah. And here's the thing I like about this. The like about social platforms.
Right.
So you mentioned writing a book.
Yeah.
You have to have talent to write a book. For the most part. Now you could write a sorry book that nobody read, certainly. and there's plenty of people that have.
Okay.
But to write a successful book, to be a successful author,
Yeah.
you have to have talent.
Okay.
You have to be a good writer.
Sure.
You have to turn out a consistent product time after time after time. Right?
All right.
I'm going somewhere with this.
I'm going with you.
Okay. And this is what I like about social media. So then, if you are a musician, you have to, and you want to be, and you make your living as a musician, you have to, be good at it and have a following and people buying your material. A comedian that makes his living as a comedian has to be good at it, have a following, have people willing to pay to hear him do that.
Yeah.
This is where social media is the great equalizer. I think there are people that have talent that maybe couldn't put together a whole hour's worth of material for like a Netflix comedy special.
Right. Where the big money is.
Where the bigger money is. But they can do a 15-minute skit on a social media platform.
Like YouTube, right?
Like YouTube or Instagram. And it's funny. It's well done. It's well filmed. It's well thought out. It makes you laugh. But they don't have the level that would take them to a national prominence. But they...
What do you think the line is between those two?
I don't know. That's an interesting question.
So what do you think the line is between the two? So my example is, the Holderness family.
All right. Watched a ton of their videos.
YouTube stars, right?
Yes.
Very funny, well done.
And they translated into TV stars because they won the Amazing Race.
Right. But let's just before that, back up. They were
YouTube stars.
You were YouTube stars, and then let's take like one of the newer country singers,
like Luke Bryan.
Let's take Luke Bryan.
Right.
So he's everywhere. He's on tour.
Right.
People want to have him at their venue playing a concert. What do you think the difference is?
I don't know if I can, and this is the part that fascinates me. What is the difference between a content creator that can put together something that's 15 seconds, 30 seconds on Instagram and being able to be on tour with a concert thing? That's where I think, like, you and I, nobody would have called us up and said, hey, we want you two guys to have a radio show.
And they're still, just for the record, they're still not calling.
Right, they're still not calling. But there's platforms now that you and I can access for free initially, and then for pretty low cost.
Yeah.
Where you and I can sit here and talk into a microphone.
And have our radio show.
And there are people that listen to us, and we have a good time with it.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, there's people I follow on Instagram who all they do are these 15... Lauren Jumps. She is my hero on Instagram.
Lauren Jumps? Okay.
I don't know what her true last name is. During COVID, I think I've talked about this on the podcast before. During COVID, she lived in Britain. She started jumping rope. And so, like every couple days, she drops these videos where she jumps rope for like 15, 20 seconds to different songs.
Yeah.
And that's it. And she has built an empire out of this, where she sells jump ropes, jump mats, the outfits that she's wearing. She's got a app that you can get on your phone that teaches you all the different moves that she does.
Now, is she a good jump rope artist?
Absolutely. Like she taught herself.
She's got talent.
She's got talent.
Okay.
But nobody's going to watch a TV show of her jump roping.
Right.
But they're going to watch a 30-second video of her jumping rope with these different techniques.
I gotcha.
And then teaching you how to do it. And now she's teamed up with like dancers, so they're dancing and she's jump roping to the dancing routine. I mean, what other platform is she going to be successful on like that?
So what I think what you're saying then is what you like about these social media platforms, that it's able to at almost no cost put out content that's very short and easy to make, and reach a broad audience quickly.
Yes.
And if it's good, it'll catch on.
Right.
Whereas
like ours.
Whereas yes, right. Well, I was going to say the typical media that we're used to is 30-minute, 23-minute sitcom, 47-minute hour-long show, 30-minute radio slot, or a 4-hour morning show. A book in which that you have to find a publisher who's going to back you in print a lot of these.
Right.
A music artist now, a music artist who is discovered by someone willing to put a lot of money behind them to create a 30 to 50-minute album and put out there, whereas this. But we can do much shorter content that catches people's attentions and can hold it pretty sustained and for low cost. And then all of a sudden, without a lot of production effort, you have a following. Yeah. And then you monetize it.
You can monetize it. And I think it's a great equalizer. Because I think lots of people are creative. But they don't have an outlet for it.
Right.
And social media has become this great outlet for people who want to be creative. It's not necessarily good all the time, but just creative, just creating.
It seems, though, wouldn't you agree that there is a line of discovery that is out of our hands, that is out of a lot of people's hands,
absolutely.
that some people get discovered and some people don't.
Right, and that's why I think what we've done has succeeded is because we're doing it for ourselves.
Right.
We do it for just the fun of doing it.
And we do it for our friends.
And we do it for our friends.
I mean, listener number one said, if you do it, I will listen. And that was good enough for us.
Yeah. Right, it was.
And he's still there.
And it still is. And, David listens and he enjoys it, and that's enough. And different people listen and they enjoy it. And we've even said that even if no one was listening, we would do it.
We'd probably still do it. We'd still do it.
But
why would we do that?
I think it's a creative outlet for both of us.
It's fun just to be on this microphone here
and think that people are listening.
That's right.
But that's what, another guy I follow on Instagram. All he does is he does trade humor, like construction, heavy industry. He does humorous situations from the trades.
Okay.
And it's not long. It's 15, 20 seconds. And he is excellent at it. But there's no other platform that he would be watched on.
Right.
The guy we've talked about, Josh Mancuso, who does the team mascot thing. Anyways, it's just a guy who he says he names a school and he has 3 characters that he plays all 3 characters, and they talk about how the school got the mascot, the name, the fight song. He came to Winston here recently.
Okay.
Again, the only place that would be successful is on. Now he's beginning to transition into stand up and bigger things, but the only place that would be successful is social media.
You're fired up about this, Cecil.
I am fired up. I mean, because it gave us this opportunity
it really
too.
Did.
It gave us the opportunity to sit here and come up with a name and kind of figure out the little connections and have a podcast.
I mean, who would have thought that we would our voices would be broadcast on these major platforms like Apple Podcasts,
right?
Broadcasting our voice,
right?
Spotify,
right?
Google Podcast, iHeart. All these big ones.
We were the featured podcast on Amazon Music this week.
No kidding.
Under certain algorithms.
Really?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I don't know.
Well, we need to figure out that algorithm, don't we?
So anyways,
but getting back to your point that don't sound right is that the government doesn't know really all these little 15-second to 2-minute creators that are benefiting and making money off of it.
Yeah.
And the question I think that you and I have, and I don't know the answer to it, is this really count though as GDP?
How serious is this?
How I mean, is this? Yeah. I mean, does this really count? Now, I think it leads to things that do count. For instance, you think about the advertisers. So, Pepsi, Cheerwine wants to start advertising with us. Right.
Yeah.
Now people will start to buy more Cheerwine. Oh, so Cheerwine needs to start making more Cheerwine.
Yeah.
And so, they got to make more cans to put the Cheerwine. Well, guess what? Now the aluminum can manufacturer has to start making more cans. They got to start buying more aluminum. We got to fire up some bauxite mines, start mining more aluminum, because look what we did.
Right.
Because that don't sound right.
Yeah.
Made content, and it was worth getting people to advertise on and attract more commerce.
Right. And then you need tractors for the mining. You need 18 wheelers to ship it all around.
It all comes back to trucking.
It all comes out to a big truck product.
You got to make more DEF.
It doesn't sound right, but I think you've come to the end of our content creation of That Don't Sound Right.
Hey, before we close, we want to thank everyone for listening to our content. If this is your first time and enjoyed the conversation, would you consider hitting the subscribe or follow button on the platform you listen with? Also, if you're a longtime listener, please give us a rating and leave us a review so others can easily find us and join the conversation.
And if you know somebody at Cheerwine, call them, tell them we want to contribute to the GDP.
That's right. That's how we can do it.
We contribute to GDP with Wonderfully Made Designs, small business specializing in T-shirts, custom-made T-shirts and decals. Contact Casey on Facebook at Wonderfully Made Designs 139.14. Use your code TDSR10 for 10% off your first order. So, That Don't Sound Right is a production of TDSR Podcast in conjunction with Camel City Studios. I am your co-host and sound engineer, Cecil. Peter is your other host and your web designer. Camille is your barista. Emily does our graphic design. Ella does our Instagram. Giorgio tests our merchandise. Brent is our international brand ambassador. And as always, the number one content creator, the number one reason we create content, listener number one is Scott. So until next week, keep talking.
And stay curious.